Coming up tonight, the campus community reacts to recent changes made to dining and uptick in COVID numbers.
And the manhunt for an escaped prisoner has finally come to a close after nearly 2 weeks, and GOP candidates stir controversy in Iowa.
All that and more right now on SUTV News.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight on SUTV News. I'm JD DeRazio.
And I'm Haley Galaskis. Shippensburg University police believe there is no threat to students regarding a threat made on social media. Campus police investigated an anonymous threat made on the social media app Yik Yak after a post was made early Wednesday morning. An email was sent out to the campus community regarding the post, where campus police said that there would be an increased police presence on campus, including state police. While they stated there was no immediate threat, several students took to social media demanding answers and said they would not attend class that day due to caution. On Tuesday, students were given the opportunity to receive training that could save a life. The Connection AOD program held a Narcan training class for students in the Cub NPR. Narcan, or naloxone, is used to reverse the effects of opioid overdoses. It's able to block any opiates from reaching the brain and help restore breathing to the user. Upon the completion of the training, students in attendance were given a certificate to show they completed the course. If you were unable to attend the training, there will be another class held on Wednesday, September 20th, at 7 p.m. once again in the Cub NPR. Narcan is also free to pick up at Eder Health Center located behind Noggle Hall.
In email sent last Friday, students were alerted of a rampant increase in COVID cases on campus. This begs the question, what should you do if you believe you have contracted COVID-19? Your first step is always to get tested. You can get tested or pick up a self-test kit at the Eder Health Center at no cost for students. If you test positive for COVID-19, please stay isolated at home for at least 5 days. Any contact after 5 days should be done while wearing a mask until day 10. COVID vaccinations are also available at various locations, including CVS, Rite Aid, and most local pharmacies. The campus encourages you to protect yourself and others by getting tested as soon as you see symptoms. A growing number of students have become concerned with a recent trend in dining this semester. Here for more is SUTV's Adam Bean.
The prices of all the dining options are what they are right now. I'm just draining through my flex very quickly.
That is just one of the many students upset with the latest changes made to dining on campus. The concern? The rising costs just to eat.
Being a senior, I don't have a meal plan. It's not beneficial for me to have that financially, and just like many other seniors, but we have flex. I only had like $120 of flex, and we're only starting the third week of campus, and I'm out.
These reactions come after dining services announced Monday that they would be introducing a new meal deal for students at the sub shop located in the CDA Union building. For one meal swipe, you would get a 6-inch sub, a bag of chips, and a small fountain drink. However, if you do not have a meal plan, it will cost you $11.67. In comparison, a foot-long sub at Subway and the same side items will cost you $11.47. The rise in prices is tied to continued economic inflation, so non-Aramark items like those found in the Snack Shack have seen a heftier price tag added on this semester. However, many other campus locations have shown that a meal swipe just isn't cutting it.
I've already spent like $80 in flex just because of how expensive it is after already using a meal swipe to then pay the extra at like places like Freshens and Dunkin' and just different places on campus.
The dining website lists the current price of a meal swipe as $6.40. However, spots like Starbucks no longer accept meal swipes at all, leading to many students arguing that unless you eat in the dining hall, you'll have to use flex with almost every meal you have on campus.
Like meals are $11, $12. The only reason I'm able to eat on Wednesdays is because the Raider Bowls are $6.60. So, I mean, yeah, the inflation of meals here are just insane now.
For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
When we come back, we have the details regarding the capture of escaped murderer Danelo Cavalcante.
And Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy is looking to possibly impeach President Biden. So stick around for more after this quick break.
After a nearly 2-week manhunt, escaped murderer Danelo Cavalcante has been apprehended. Here with the details is SUTV's Adam Beam.
This is the man that Pennsylvania law enforcement have been in pursuit of for the past 14 days. Danelo Cavalcante is now once again in police custody.
Shortly after 8 a.m., tactical teams converged on the area where the heat source was. They were able to move in very quietly. They had the element of surprise.
The search came to an end when police located Cavalcante hiding in a tall, grassy area using heat-seeking technology. Cavalcante attempted to escape armed with a rifle he had stolen days prior, but was subdued by a canine unit and bringing a close to an unnerving 2 weeks for the county.
I hope the good people of Pennsylvania, and indeed the folks all across this nation, got a chance to see how government is supposed to work, how law enforcement is supposed to work.
Cavalcante was serving a life sentence in Chester County Prison for the murder of his ex-girlfriend before escaping in that now infamous security cam footage.
They are so grateful to the men and women who helped with this capture. They can now finally sleep again.
He will now be sent to a state correctional institute until he is arraigned at a later date for new charges related to his escape. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
According to the National Hurricane Center, Hurricane Lee weakened to a Category 2 on Saturday. Forecasters expect the storm to once again become a major hurricane in the coming days. The hurricane peaked on Friday morning as a Category 5 with sustained winds at 165 miles per hour. It's still too early to know how significant the hurricane's impact will be for the northeastern U.S. and Canada. For now, the East Coast will be experiencing large swells and rip currents.
This past weekend, GOP candidates appeared at the highly anticipated Iowa State Cyclones versus Iowa Hawkeyes football game. Former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis took the attention. Trump entered his private suite to a crowd of hundreds of onlookers with both positive and negative remarks, even a few middle fingers to Trump behind the glass. Amidst this debut, Florida Governor DeSantis sat in the stands with Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds after tailgating with fans before the game. Other candidates also appeared, such as Vivek Ramaswamy and Asa Hutchinson. Despite the negative comments, Trump is still ahead in the polls at 49%, with DeSantis at a mere 14% in popularity among Republican voters. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy called for a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Allegedly, President Biden directly profited from his son Hunter Biden's business deals. According to the California representative, quote, "These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption. They warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives," end quote. The House-led GOP investigations have yet to provide any direct evidence of the allegations against President Biden, despite Speaker McCarthy having increasing pressure from others in his party. He has decided to withhold from a floor vote that would open the inquiry at this time. There is no word on why he has made this decision. And as we come on the air tonight, Hunter Biden has now been indicted by Delaware federal court over gun charges from October of 2018. Coming up in world news, we have the latest details out of Libya following a devastating flood.
And we have the details on the meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Stay tuned for more after this.
Massive shakeups have occurred in the world soccer following a controversial moment at the Women's World Cup.
Here with more is SUTV's Maddie Shively. Maddie?
More than 2,000 people are dead in Libya from flooding that swept through eastern Libya, State News reported, citing Osama Hamad, the head of Libya's Eastern Parliament-backed government. Hamad said in press statements that residential neighborhoods disappeared after the torrent swept them into the sea, along with thousands of their residents, and the situation is, quote, catastrophic and unprecedented in Libya, end quote. Hamad called on medical personnel and medical assistants to go to the badly affected city of Derna in eastern Libya to provide assistance immediately. So far, health workers were able to identify about 700 bodies out of more than 2,000 dead in Derna. Embattled Royal Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales has submitted his resignation from his role following public backlash after his unwanted kiss on Spanish forward Jennifer Hermoso after the team's victory in the Women's World Cup. Rubiales apologized and described the kiss on August 20th as mutual, a claim Hermoso denied, saying she was not respected. On Friday, the Spanish national prosecutor filed a complaint against Rubiales for the crimes of sexual assault and coercion against Jennifer Hermoso, according to a press release. The national prosecutor's decision comes days after Hermoso filed an official complaint with prosecutors against Rubiales. The unwanted kiss has prompted a major shakeup in Spanish soccer, with the government pushing for Rubiales to resign and removing World Cup winning manager Jorge Vilda from his role. Two leaders largely shunned by the West, vowing cooperation and a new era of friendship. Russian President Vladimir Putin met North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at a space center in eastern Russia Wednesday, in Kim's first visit to Russia in 4 years. Russian state media report the leaders talked for more than 5 hours before sitting down for a state dinner. Paula Hancock has more from Seoul.
Kim Jong-un is given the red carpet tour of Russia's successful space program. According to one reporter present, he asked, quote, a lot of very detailed questions.
Is it 8 meters in total?
Russian President Vladimir Putin says he's happy to share the knowledge that Kim craves, a sharing of information Washington has been warning of.
The leader of North Korea shows great interest in space, in rocketry, and they're trying to develop space. We'll show them our new objects.
North Korea's last 2 attempts to put a spy satellite into space have failed. Putin showed Kim his presidential limousine, manufactured by Russian luxury automaker Aurus, reminiscent of former US President Donald Trump showing off the beast to Kim during friendlier times in Singapore. Kim praised Putin for standing up against hegemonic forces, a thinly veiled swipe at the United States and the West, even appearing to toast Russia's war in Ukraine.
I firmly believe that the Russian military and people will inherit the shining tradition of victory and demonstrate their dignity and honor on the front line of military operation.
US and South Korean intelligence predict an arms deal including North Korea providing Russia with much needed ammunition to use in Ukraine. The symmetry in their weaponry means certain ammo could be used immediately by Russia. Another possibility, the very public meeting, could be sending a message.
It might be a signal to Seoul. Be careful, it says. If you, South Koreans, start shipping ammunition to Ukraine, Russia will probably do technology transfer to North Korea. The same message is also going to Washington.
That's it for this week's World News. I'm Maddie Shively. Now back to JD and Haley at the desk.
When we come back in entertainment, Drew Barrymore is under fire for crossing the picket line.
And one of TV's most iconic late-night hosts is facing backlash for a toxic work environment. We'll have more after this.
Can we talk about how gorgeous the weather was today?
Oh my gosh, fall is back in its entirety. It felt great walking around campus, seeing the leaves blowing in the trees. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm
with
so
that,
excited.
let's send over to Allison Ritchie for this week's weather. Allison?
Good evening, Shippensburg. Last week saw some uncommonly hot temperatures, but things finally seem to be cooling down a bit. I know I'm getting ready for some crisp fall weather. Today has been pleasant with plenty of sunshine with a high of 75 and a low tonight around 50. On Friday, country music fans making the trek to campus to see Tanya Tucker will experience pretty much the same weather with a high of 76 and a low of 51. Over the weekend, temperatures will rise a little bit but won't breach the 80s, which is perfect for field hockey's 1 p.m. game against IUP on Sunday. As we enter the week ahead, you can see that things are finally starting to cool down. Temperatures are not expected to exceed 80 degrees throughout, but it will still feel pretty warm during the day. Weather will be consistently sunny and the evenings will cool down to that idyllic weather. With that, I hope everyone stays safe out there and enjoys a nice and sunny Shippensburg weekend. I'm Allison Ritchie, and up next is SUTV's Entertainment.
Mila, Kunis, and Ashton Kutcher are facing backlash over their letters of support for Danny Masterson. In their letters, they describe Masterson as part of their family and as a role model. Both go into depth about Masterson's promotion of absence to himself and his teenage co-stars. Kunis and Kutcher are just two of nearly 50 people who wrote character letters to the judge in support of Masterson. Among this list includes Deborah Jo Rupp and Kurtwood Smith, who also starred in the series as well as Netflix's That 90s Show. Kutcher took to Instagram to film an apology video with Kunis. In the video, the couple talks about how they are, quote, aware of the pain they have caused. Kutcher then goes on to explain how the character letters were not meant to re-traumatize the victims or undermine their statements, but were rather for the judge to read. Many have criticized the apology video for lacking accountability and seeming insincere. In a surprising turn of events, late-night talk show host and comedian Jimmy Fallon has come forward to apologize for fostering a toxic work environment within his show. The Rolling Stone investigated claims of a toxic work environment at The Tonight Show and released a report last Thursday morning. The Rolling Stone spoke with 2 current and 14 former staff workers commenting on the erratic behavior and unhealthy work environment caused by Fallon himself. The magazine claims that behind the scenes of The Tonight Show, employees made complaints about Fallon's erratic behavior, mood swings, and some former employees went as far as claiming their hair was thinning and they had suicidal thoughts due to the stress of working for Fallon. In an emergency Zoom work meeting, Fallon told his staff, "It's embarrassing and I feel so bad." Fallon went on to say in the virtual meeting that, quote, "If I ever mistreated anybody or made you feel bad, that was not my goal," end quote. According to an NBC spokesperson, they defended the program saying, quote, "We are incredibly proud of the show and providing a respectful working environment is a top priority." The Writers Guild of America is not happy with Drew Barrymore's decision to resume production on her talk show during the writer's strike. More than 11,000 television and film writers remain on strike. The Guild announced it would be picketing Barrymore's New York-based daytime talk show. In a statement on Instagram over the weekend, Barrymore explained her position on bringing her show back. She wrote that the show, quote, "may have my name on it, but this is bigger than just me." She added, quote, "Our talk show actually wrapped on April 20th, so we never had to shut down the show." A spokesperson for CBS Media Ventures, which produces the show, says the show, quote, "will not be performing any writing work covered by the WGA strike." The Drew Barrymore Show is set to return on September 18th. That's it for this week's entertainment. I'm Carson Devitt. Now back to JD and Haley at the desk.
Coming up, we have the recaps of the Raiders' performances this past weekend in football and field hockey.
Stick around.
Shippensburg field hockey had a busy week with 3 games being played this past weekend. The Raiders began their week suffering a tough loss in double overtime against nationally ranked number 7 St. Anselm on Saturday, September 9th. The Raiders were able to secure a 6-1 win in a contest against the nationally ranked number 6 Assumption despite the rain. The team ended the first half with a score of 4-1 after 2 goals by Taryn Mayer and 1 each for Yasmin DeMeyer and August Garibaldi. After a scoreless third quarter, Shippensburg ended the contest with goals by Valu Paul and a second for August Garibaldi. The field hockey team traveled to Mansfield for a matchup that ultimately ended in a 2-0 loss. You can see the field hockey team this Sunday, September 17th at 1 o'clock at the Rob Sports Complex. The Shippensburg football team took on Seton Hill this past weekend in a close game in Week 2 of football action for the Raiders. The Raiders had an early lead thanks to kicker Jackson Montross. The game would be a back-and-forth battle as receiver Red Douglas combined for 202 all-purpose yards. Redshirt sophomore Sam Johnson III, who entered in place of quarterback Joey McCracken, answered with a 25-yard strike to redshirt freshman Jamin Bryant with less than 2 minutes remaining in the first half. but the Griffins seized back momentum moments before halftime with a 64-yard touchdown. The Raiders would fail to score late in the closing moments that would lead to a Raider loss. The final score would be 28-23 as the Griffins would win the nail-biter. Shippensburg will return to the field, however, this weekend on the road to IUP against the Hawks. Kickoff is set for noon. Week 1 of the NFL season is in the books, and this highly anticipated first week of action did not disappoint with some unexpected outcomes. The NFL season kicked off Thursday night with most of the games taking place on Sunday. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos took action at Denver in an anticipated matchup. Las Vegas struck in this one with Jacoby Myers scoring 2 touchdowns before leaving the game due to an injury. Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson attempted to lead the comeback, soaring 2 passing touchdowns, but fell short. Vegas defeats Denver 17-16 in the rivalry contest. Later that night in New York, the Giants and the Cowboys took the gridiron. The Cowboys steamrolled the Giants 40-0 in an uncompetitive matchup led by the Dallas defense and quarterback Dak Prescott. In the losing effort, Giants quarterback Daniel Jones threw 2 interceptions. Monday night's matchup between the Bills and the Jets was bittersweet for Jets fans, despite pulling away with a narrow victory. 4 plays into his Jets debut, Aaron Rodgers suffered a season-ending Achilles injury, which led to Zach Wilson being put at the helm. Wilson, alongside the Jets' special teams, would score in overtime to capture a much-needed victory. Week 2 action kicks off with tonight's season debut of Thursday Night Football as the Vikings travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Kickoff is set for 8:15 p.m. And that's it for sports this week. I'm Adam Beebe. Now back to JD and Haley at the desk.
Coming up, while he's no Air Bud, 2 dogs certainly made an impression on the turf this week.
Stay with us for an awesome story. 2 excited and adorable fans caused a rough moment at a high school soccer match in Minot, North Dakota. It was all caught on camera. The Minot Magicians were taking on the Jamestown Blue Jays Tuesday night when 2 dogs ran out onto the pitch. It happened about halfway through the first half of the match. Officials had to pause the game for roughly a minute, which was the perfect amount of time for one pooch to get a belly rub from a player. The dogs quickly went on their way and the game resumed. It's unclear which team the canines were rooting for, but Minot and Jamestown played to a 0-0 draw. I'll tell you what, Haley, I played in my fair share of sporting events, and I don't think I've ever gone against a canine before. I don't know how I would fare out against one.
4 legs against 2, I don't know if I'd bet on those odds.
Yeah, probably not. But that's going to do it tonight for SUTV News. I'm JD DeRazio.
And I'm Haley Galaskis. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SUTV News, and check out our website, sutvnews.org.
We'll see you next week. Good night.